Hello parents, I'm Jim Carroll, principal here at Hickory Ridge Middle School, and on behalf of the entire school community, I want to welcome you here for 2014 Curriculum Night. I'd like first to show you some interesting information. We're going to be looking at both our standardized testing performance and also our school improvement plan for the year. So first I want to talk about how we measure schools. And there are two ways. You look at either proficiency or you look at growth. Now proficiency, I've selected a picture to draw the analogy that what we're looking for is how many students do we get over the bar set by the state. And in this measure, you're measuring the school, but you're also measuring the families, the communities, and social factors that are involved. And in this situation, we have over 67% of our students are hitting the reading proficiency and 56% in math. Now that doesn't sound impressive, but remember that we renormed the test a couple of years ago when we were up in the 80s and 90s. This is just a matter of where do you set the bar and how high do you jump, and we want to keep setting the bar higher every time we start to top out. The bar is there for us to set goals. When we look at science at 82.3% getting over the bar, and math 1, 99.2%. So let's look at the other way that you look at schools and their performance. And I prefer, and most of my colleagues prefer, using growth. How far do our students grow compared to statistical predictions of growth based on their previous testing? This measures what schools actually do. So let's take these three plants here. So if you start with the plant on the left, you make a prediction based on previous growth, how far it's going to grow. And you would look at that black dotted line as our target. Now it would be silly to say you're going to hit exactly that target or not, whether you're growing at the perfect rate or not. There's going to be a margin of error. And so if you, in testing terms, we look at that black dotted line and we have a margin error above and below. So here, anything above that green line and below the blue line would then be meeting expected growth. And then let's say we're looking at that large plant on the right and we've predicted growth based on the previous years that it's going to be a certain size. In this analogy, this plant would not meet expected growth because we expected its rate of growth before for it to be taller. Now, EVOS gives us an easy reference system, and that's the color code system. So when we look at the data that I'm going to share with you in a little bit, we're looking at green is good and it's expected, and that's in that expected growth rate. Red is not good, but blue is fantastic growth. So let's look at our reading first. If you look at the bottom right, you'll see that our reading overall scores are 0.3, which is in the green. That's 0.3 above what we expected. And then if you look at the next year, if you look at 7th grade 2 years ago, you'll see that we had a red in 7th grade reading. That has drugged down our overall 7th grade reading scores over the 3-year average. The good thing here is that those 2012 scores will cycle off quickly next year. We expect that 8th grade to move to at least green, and then our overall growth to be either green or blue. So now let's turn to math. With math, you see that we're blue across the board on the 3 years and at the bottom. You see that our overall is exceeding expected growth in math. Despite the fact that 8th grade doesn't seem to be getting there, it's hard to hit higher than expected growth 3 years in a row, and they're building on the backs of strong performance. If we look at science, you can see that we are exceeding expected growth all 3 years. And in Math 1, you can see the same. despite the fact that as you see that arrow going down, if you look at N, that's the number of students taking algebra, that we were improving that number every year, but we're still exceeding expected growth. If we look at our science in 6th and 7th grade last year, you'll see that we exceeded expected growth in 6th and met it in science in 7th grade. And then in 8th grade, you can see that we exceeded expected growth across the board with extremely strong performance there. So next I want to look at how our teachers have performed. You would expect a bell-shaped curve with the green, most of the teachers being green and some being in red and blue. And when you look at our performance, you have to be impressed that almost all of our teachers are green or blue, and we have almost half of them as highly effective, and those in the red area are going to be coached for better performance next year. So now let's look at our school improvement plan. Our school improvement plan is based on 3 things. The first is full implementation of PLCs, and PLCs are defined as a collaboration model where you work to answer 4 essential questions. First, what should our students know? Second, how will we know it? Third, what will we do for students who do not master the content? And then fourth, if we're intervening with those that have not reached mastery, what do we do with them to enrich their current knowledge? Last year we had 36% of our teachers or our PLCs fully implementing with fidelity. Our goal this year is to be at 100%. The second goal is the creation of a parent-teacher alliance to fulfill the school vision of an alliance forged that supports parents and teachers in the development of our students' growth and independence. We'll be doing this basically on a 4-legged plan. First one is to improve communications with parents with up-to-date websites, parent contacts returned within 48 hours, and the parent portal being live and parents using that. Next, continued support from our PTO, both with volunteers and finance. Last year, they purchased a video screen and a projector for use in our gymnasium and sponsored the mural in the atrium, which is wonderful work. Third, more frequent and accessible counselor support for parents. Our counselors have already done support sessions, webinars, and coffees with counselors already this year, and they look to have more. And then fourth, more daily parent volunteers in the building. We've advertised for volunteers, we've surveyed the teachers, and now we're matching those needs to supply, and we'll be implementing soon. And the last goal is to an initiative for problem-based learning in the building. PBL is a student-centered pedagogy in which students learn about a subject through the experience of problem solving. Students learn both thinking strategies and the content knowledge. I know that everybody remembers these types of word problems where a train leaves one city and then another one leaves another city, and where do they meet in the middle? Now, I don't know who puts train on a collision course, but we're looking to do more authentic problem solving and having your students think more. Because life is a word problem, and it's time to start solving it now. And here's an example of maybe a school-wide problem-based learning situation, and you can easily see how a teacher could customize it for their content. That concludes my presentation for tonight. I want to thank you for supporting the school and for being here tonight. At this point, 8th grade parents should report to their encore, and students in Mrs. Wingler, McMillan, Jean, and Beach should report to those classes now. Thank you. And